New World Order.
Global financial governance.
New World Order.
New World Order.
A new international order.
A new world order.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
Okay, so you're touring Australia with this play, New World Order. Yeah. How long have you been performing New World Order?
Since I debuted at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I think the first production was on July the 30th. So apart from travelling around, I've been touring it since then. So I think we're into the 40s. So I think I've done 40 odd shows. Something like that.
Okay. Just a little bit. You're currently doing a tour of Australia.
Yeah.
With is the entire tour is with the Fringe Festival?
No, not at all. In fact, this is the only Fringe festival in the Australian tour, and probably one of very few Fringe festivals that I will probably do in the future. Fringe festivals are tough. They're not as easy as being presented or co-produced. So they're really, or even straight hires. They're hard straight hires because you're fighting against so many other shows. And unfortunately, Fringe festivals are often synonymous with comedy. So it's hard. It can be tough when you're doing a straight theatre piece that is all about the truth of what's happening in the world. And people just, a lot of people who go to a Fringe festival, they're not there for that. They're there for escapism and comedy. So yeah, Fringe festivals are interesting.
Just briefly, what is the play about?
I guess in a nutshell, the show is about the business of war, really. It's about the way that governments operate in order to do what they see as good business, and how they propagate propaganda and fear through to the public, so that we don't see what's actually going on. They'll say one thing and then they'll do another. And I mean, this has been going on since forever. And the fact that it's denied so much is probably what's most hysterical about democracy. Really, it's a system that is in a complete state of denial.
And there are three characters. And there are three characters in the play. Do you mind going over what those three characters are?
Yeah, I use three characters to drive home my message. The first is the king, he's obviously a generic king, and he describes the methodology of ruling a nation through fear and propaganda, how to go to war, how to lead a nation to war when no one's really attacking you. And why we go to war, what the business purposes of going to war, what the profits, the benefits for the elite and for the ruling class are for going to war. So he explains all that in a very matter-of-fact manner, with a wry smile. And then you have the fool who reacts to all of that, and he obviously is like a man on the street. The reason I call him the fool, though, is because he ends up rejecting the whole thing. He rejects the whole thesis, if you will, the whole theory that I present as being rubbish, and says, oh, of course not, our governments are just good, and that's the end of it. And then I use the veteran, the war veteran, who brings home the realities of what it's like on the ground in a country where a war is going on, where our bombs are dropping on their civilians as well as their military. So he's the eyes and ears of the veteran on the ground.
What inspired you to write The New World Order?
Wow, I know. I mean, the last 7 or 8 years have been absolutely unbelievable in global history, I think. So really, I guess it's been that. I mean, it's been a long time coming. I lived in Ireland for 4 years, which obviously I'm English. I'm growing up in England and then moving to Ireland. I very quickly realised all the propaganda that I had been fed as a young Englishman, as an English boy in school, and I saw the other side of that story, and that made me realise just exactly what the British Empire was, what it had been, how it became an empire down the barrel of a gun, and the lengths, the really disgusting lengths that it went to in order to achieve that, and the arrogance that came along with that. And so I took a great interest in the American empire, which of course you're not allowed to call an empire. That in itself says everything. And so I started reading a lot of books, and then of course 9/11 happened, and that really, and then you have Afghanistan and Iraq, and I mean, it's just, how can you not, really? I think, I don't, personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable living in the luxury that I do, just in living in a Western lifestyle, and unless I did comment on these things and say, actually, you know what, surely there must be a better way that we can run our governments and we can run the world, and surely we don't have to sacrifice people in other parts of the world in order for us to live such a luxurious life. I'd rather have less, and there'd be more people alive on the planet than me have a bigger car or a bigger house at the sake of other people's lives. So I can't live that way. So it was a lot of things. And I moved to America. I spent the last 2 years living in America, and that really living that culture and observing that culture and breathing it, and seeing the propaganda every day come through my television set. It made it impossible for me to not do this.
What do you think the New World Order is?
Well, as I say in the play, personally, I think the New World Order is an old world order. That there is nothing new about the New World Order. It's, for me, I see it as the same old. It's one person is always trying to be on top of everybody else, and so it's pretty much the same thing as it's always been. It's just empire building, and one government or another trying to become the de facto leader of the world, and that's it really in a nutshell. I think it's the same old idea. Obviously, technology and weaponry and the use of information, the use of misinformation. All of the things that we have at hand now, which can obviously aid us in one sense, are also now used as standard to manipulate and control the global population in whatever fashion. So, to me, there is no New World Order. It's the same old idea, just with new technology.